We spend our lives being told that vulnerability is the ultimate human strength. Yet for some of us, revealing a single crack is an invitation for a total, systematic invasion. Let's be honest for a second. We live in a culture obsessed with sharing. But while the world screams for authenticity, the data suggests a darker reality. With clinical narcissism and high conflict personalities estimated to affect up to 6% of the population, you aren't just being guarded, you are a psychological outlier practicing a high-stakes form of emotional border control. Think back, way back. Remember being 6 years old? You'd scrape a knee and your first instinct was to cry out, to let the world see the hurt, because you knew comfort would follow. There was a certain lightness to being seen. But for you, that childhood luxury was traded in early. You learned that in some orbits, a tear isn't a call for help, it's blood in the water. And so you built it, the shield. It's a masterwork of survival, really, a silent, stoic gray rock that keeps the predator hungry and the secrets safe. But here is the core paradox. The very mechanism that once served as your sanctuary is now the thing causing your stagnation. You've become so good at hiding your weakness from them that you've started to lose the ability to find your own strength. It's not a flaw, my friend. It's a depth that hasn't been allowed to breathe. To understand why this shield is so heavy, we have to look at the architecture of the narcissistic supply. In the world of social psychology, a narcissist doesn't see you as a person. They see you as a mirror or a battery. They engage in projective identification, a process where they take their own internal chaos, their own unacknowledged shame, and project it onto you, forcing you to feel it for them. When you show weakness, you aren't just showing a human emotion, you are providing the supply, the emotional reaction they need to feel powerful. By refusing to show that weakness, you are engaging in cognitive decoupling. You are manually separating your internal experience from your external expression. It's brilliant, but it comes at a neural cost. When you live in this state of psychological shielding, your nervous system is permanently rewired into a state of hypervigilance. Your amygdala, that almond-sized alarm bell in your brain, is essentially stuck in the on position. It's like a low-humming radar in your chest that refuses to power down, even when the room is empty. You aren't just watching the narcissist. Your brain is scanning for micro-shifts in their tone, the slight narrowing of an eye, the specific way they set down a coffee cup. You've become a world-class linguist of silent threats. It's a wonderful skill at a cocktail party, I suppose, assuming you enjoy feeling like a bomb disposal technician while everyone else is eating sliders. Think of your internal world as a stained glass fortress. From the outside, the narcissist sees only a beautiful, impenetrable wall of color. It's distracting, it's hard, it's confusing. They can't see through the leaded glass to find the soft things, the memories, the fears, the weakness. But the catch, and there is always a catch, is that from the inside, the glass is so thick and the patterns so complex that you can no longer see the sun. You are safe, yes, but you are living in a kaleidoscope of your own defenses, waiting for an all-clear signal that your nervous system has forgotten how to receive. If the shield is the architecture, then gray rocking is the daily maintenance. It is the art of being as interesting as a pebble. You provide no supply, no anger for them to feed on, no joy for them to harvest, no tears for them to weaponize. You become a master of the non-committal and the polite vacant stare. But let's look at what's actually happening under the hood. In tactical circles, we call this OPSEC, operational security. You are training your personal life like classified intelligence. You stop sharing your wins because you know they'll be minimized. You stop sharing your losses because you know they'll be used as leverage. The psychological toll is a phenomenon called cognitive labor. While other people are simply having a conversation, you are running a real-time risk assessment. Can I tell them about my promotion? No, they'll make it about their unfulfilled career. Can I mention I'm tired? No, they'll turn it into a competition of who has it worse. You are effectively living two lives: the curated ghost the narcissist sees, and the smothered self that is screaming for air. This constant code switching burns through your glucose levels and leaves you with a specific kind of soul-deep exhaustion that 8 hours of sleep can't touch. You aren't tired because you're busy. You're tired because you're a 24/7 counterintelligence agent. The hardest truth to swallow is this: the shield that saved your life is eventually going to try to end your growth. You cannot selectively numb yourself. When you shut the door on weakness to keep the predator out, you accidentally locked yourself in the dark. The path out isn't about smashing the fortress with a sledgehammer. That's too much for your nervous system to handle. It's about a controlled demolition. It's about finding a safe harbor, one person, one therapist, or even one creative outlet where the shield is allowed to have a backdoor. Healing isn't becoming vulnerable to the narcissist. That would be foolish. Healing is realizing that the narcissist is no longer the center of your universe. It's moving from reactive defense to proactive presence. You start by reclaiming small, useless things: a hobby they ridiculed, a song they hated, a feeling you suppressed. You are teaching your amygdala that the all-clear signal is finally real. You are learning that while you had to be a ghost to survive the haunting, you are allowed to be a person again now that you've left the house. The fortress served its purpose. It kept you alive. But look at the horizon. There is a world out there that doesn't want to invade you. It just wants to meet you. There is a peculiar, quiet grief in being a masterpiece of self-preservation. To never show weakness to a narcissist is to live in a state of perpetual performance. You aren't just protecting yourself. You are effectively deleting yourself from the room. Carl Jung once observed that the persona is that which one is not, but which oneself and others think one is. But when your persona becomes a tactical shield, the cost isn't just a loss of identity, it is the systematic starvation of your own soul. You lose the right to be tired. You lose the right to be uncertain. You lose the right to be human. The core fear driving this isn't just a fear of judgment. It is a primal, cellular fear of being seen while unarmed. For you, vulnerability isn't a pathway to connection. It is a security breach. It makes the simplest moments of life exhausting. A compliment from a stranger feels like a probe. A partner's genuine question about your day feels like an interrogation. You are constantly calculating, if I admit I'm overwhelmed, how will this be used against me 6 months from now? Let's pause here, because I know how heavy this feels. Take a breath. This isn't a lecture on your failures, it's an audit of your survival costs. We treat the social mask as a tool, but eventually, the mask starts to graft itself to the skin. Stoicism teaches us to build an inner citadel, a place where the world cannot touch us. It's a noble philosophy, truly. But when you build that citadel specifically to keep a narcissist out, you often forget to build a way for love to get in. You become a ghost in your own home. Untouchable, yes, but also unreachable. The weight of maintaining the fortress of fine while the inner truth is screaming for air, it's a burden no one was meant to carry alone. And yet you've carried it so long, you've forgotten it has a weight at all. Until, of course, the body starts to keep the score. I'll admit, seeing myself in these patterns was a bitter pill to swallow. It's much easier to pretend we are just private people than to admit we are hiding people. But these aren't your personality traits. They are your scars. They become adults who inhabit the world through a series of tactical maneuvers rather than experiences. You might recognize yourself in these manifestations. The workplace ghost. You are the most reliable person in the office, yet no one actually knows you. You over-deliver to preempt any possible criticism, creating an impeccable reputation that acts as a buffer. You never ask for help, because in your mind, a request for help is a confession of incompetence. Sound familiar? The cool partner trap. In romantic life, you are low maintenance to a fault. You never complain, you never demand, and you go with the flow. Not because you are easygoing, but because you are terrified that having a preference will make you a target. You are a dream to date, until the day you realize you've disappeared entirely. Hypervigilant impression management. You spent 20 minutes editing a 3-sentence email, not for clarity, but for defense. You are strategically calculating how every word could be twisted, misconstrued, or weaponized. It's a full-time job in PR, and you're doing it for an audience of one. The somatic shutdown. You have a high pain tolerance and a strange ability to ignore hunger or exhaustion. This is reactive avoidance. Your body has learned that needs are weaknesses, so it simply stopped reporting them to your conscious mind. The waiting for the drop syndrome. Even in moments of absolute peace, you are scanning for the shift in the wind. You don't trust good, because good is usually just the quiet before the gaslighting starts. The fixer reflex. You obsessively solve other people's problems so the spotlight never turns back to yours. If you are the healer or the wise one, you are in control. If you are in control, you are safe. It's crucial to distinguish between active choice, choosing privacy because it aligns with your values, and reactive avoidance. One is a luxury, the other is a cage. Most of us are living in the cage, convinced we designed the bars ourselves. We practice what psychologists call impression management, a desperate attempt to control the narrative. We think if we can just be perfect enough, or stoic enough, or quiet enough, the narcissist will lose interest. And they might. But in the process of starving the predator, we often starve the person living inside the shield. The first step toward unlearning this isn't to suddenly become vulnerable to the narcissist. That would be foolish. The step is to stop gaslighting yourself. It's acknowledging that this shield, while it saved your life, is now crushing your chest. It's witnessing the pain of the curated ghost without judging it. It's okay to admit it's heavy. It's okay to admit you're tired of being a fortress. So, how do we begin to lay down a shield that has become part of our skeletal structure? Healing, in this context, isn't about suddenly becoming loud or extroverted with your pain. It is a quiet, internal revolution. It starts with inner child reparenting, not as a clinical exercise, but as a sacred promise. It is the act of sitting down with that 6-year-old who first learned to swallow their tears and saying, I am the adult now. I am the fortress, so you don't have to be. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be soft. We begin to practice shadow work, which is simply the process of reclaiming the weaknesses we exiled. We realize that what we called weakness, our sensitivity, our need for touch, our capacity to be overwhelmed, was actually our humanity. To heal is to stop viewing your nervous system as a traitor and start viewing it as a loyal, exhausted soldier that simply needs to be told the war is over. I'll be the first to admit, I am still practicing this. I still catch myself sharpening my words into a blade before I enter a difficult conversation. I still feel that familiar tightening in my solar plexus when I feel exposed. We are not fixing a broken machine. We are learning to be kind to a wounded heart. This journey is non-linear. Some days you will be the open sky. Other days you will be the stone wall. Both are okay. We are simply moving toward a life where the wall is a choice, not a reflex. Central to this is a concept I call intrinsic identity orientation. It is the profound, unshakable belief that your true self exists entirely independent of external markers, social validations, or the distorted mirror a narcissist holds up to you. You are not your productivity. You are not your stoic reputation. You are the silent, steady consciousness that observes it all. When you anchor yourself in this, the narcissist's attempts to find your weakness become irrelevant. They are throwing stones at a ghost. We must embrace the philosophical truth that meaning doesn't need a medium. Your depth, your love, and your triumphs don't require external proof to be valid. You don't need the narcissist to see your growth for it to be real. You don't need to win an argument to be right. some of the most vivid, permanent transformations in human history have happened in total silence, behind closed doors, with no one watching but the soul. As you move forward, I want you to practice the art of the soft unclench. When you feel the world pressing in, notice your shoulders, soften them. Notice your jaw, release it. Notice your breath, let it unfurl. We are learning to exist in a state of protective fluidity, where we can be strong when necessary, but we never lose the ability to flow. As the great psychologist Carl Rogers once wrote, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." You spent years perfecting the shield. Now, give yourself permission to discover what and who is standing behind it. You might find that the person you are hiding is the most resilient thing about you. True depth is never found in the hardness of the shell, but in the courage to remain sought in a world that demands a stone.